All right, so I've spent thousands upon thousands of dollars on marketing material, specifically books, courses. I'm going to be breaking down the top 5 books to read for marketing in 2025, even in an AI era. These are still very relevant and applicable. Also, some notable mentions that have really moved the needle for me when it comes to marketing via courses. I know some people think courses are a scam or this and that. It's very kind of controversial depending what market you're in. But there are a few courses that I'm currently paying for that have really done me well. So let's start off, and these are in no particular order. Number one, and you might know this, is Scientific Advertising. It's a very small book, but it packs quite the punch. It's this one here, by Hopkins, and basically, again, it's only, my goodness, this thing here. It's only about 100 pages, 100 plus pages, and it really breaks down, again, scientific advertising, the scientific side of advertising, how to go about getting results, what to optimize for, how it works, and how he thinks. And this was kind of one of the first ones that got published. Really good book, very quick. If you haven't read it, I highly suggest. And if you have, this leads me into number two. So, book number two, and again in no particular order, The Boron Letters. Now, The Boron Letters are a very cool read. One of my favorite copywriters, Gary Halbert, if you know him, even Dan Kennedy, which is another one of my favorites, brings him up a lot. Now, Halbert, he went to jail for, it wasn't, some people say it's tax fraud, or even it was just very non-compliant offers he was running. But nonetheless, he goes to jail, and during his time in jail, he basically writes a letter to his son every day. And so, just to be clear here, like chapter number one, there's I printed all these out and I basically marked them down. There's like 21 chapters. There is 23 chapters, and he spends a good chunk basically writing to his son about copywriting, about tactics, about life. So let me just read you this here. He says, this letter is going to be the first in a long series of letters in which I will attempt to communicate to you a lot of important things I've learned in the last 46 years. I'm going to try to teach you what I've learned about selling by mail, getting and staying healthy, and how to get along with people, and in general, how to have a good life without getting yourself all screwed up. So again, very cool stuff, and this stuff here, like if you look at a lot of copywriters, they have read all this material, and I love this because it's a super easy read. It gets you actually in the vibe. Sometimes when I am copywriting, I'll just read some material just to get kind of the fluid going, and sometimes I love reading this stuff. Very cool, and again, it's not just about copywriting; it's about life. And there's 23 chapters, so I would suggest potentially printing those out and reading them, or even writing them by hand. Leading me to my third, which is Expert Secrets. So when I first started Russell Brunson, a lot of people know him. This younger generation doesn't really know who he is. They know like Alex Hormozi. Now, he kind of kicked off Alex Hormozi's career. So there would be no acquisition.com or even gym launch without this individual here. So fun story. Hormozi was actually in one of his masterminds, Russell Brunson. Now there is a trilogy. So there's Expert Secrets. There's Expert. There's 2 other books. Again, it's a trilogy. I would highly suggest getting them. But this one here was probably the most informative when it came to creating your mass movement, creating belief, the funnels, the moral obligation, what's next. What really stood out to me was the Big Domino and the Epiphany Bridge and the Heroes to Journeys. So a lot of people getting ClickFunnels, right? This guy, a lot of people in the space have read this or have been at least exposed to his material. But back to Hormozi's story. Hormozi was in his mastermind, and he was wondering how, because Hormozi at the time was doing gym launch, but he was actually flying to gyms and implementing. And again, it's just not really that scalable when, if you're going to do 50 gyms or X amount of gyms per month per year, you're going to need a bigger and bigger team as you go, because Hormozi can only go to one location at a time. And so it just wasn't really scalable, predictable, wasn't the best model. And so Russell said, how about you just go into a licensing model? And that's when he finally released, I believe it was called Gym Launch. And then he did the licensing model where you can basically just license everything. And it's, again, he doesn't have to fly anywhere, and you have access to it all. This was him, and Hormozi exited, I believe, that for $40 million. And now he's got acquisition.com. So this stuff, really great material. Anyone should read this. Leading me to my next breakthrough advertising. This is the one I keep going back to. This was a little hard to find. This here with some other material, I believe, came out to like a few $100. But this stuff you don't really get. I got it at Titans Marketing, which I believe is another copywriter's company, and he basically took ownership of this. But this book is basically I come back to it yearly, and it basically just helps refresh some stuff. And again, all this stuff is very applicable, even though you are in an AI era. This stuff, if you're selling to humans, is very applicable. Even when you're selling to AI agents, they are programmed by humans, so it's still going to be applicable, okay? So this stuff is really good. I would highly suggest get your hands on it. If anything, this is one of the books where everyone, and I mean everyone, has read and has got a lot of their information. This is like stages of awareness. This is everything in here. So highly suggest it. It's definitely worth the money. A little bit of an off one. Let's see here. A little bit of an off one would be this one here. So this is another great one I have. The Ad Week Copywriting Handbook by Joseph Sugarman. Now this one is fantastic as well. Joseph Sugarman, I love him because he just didn't do BizOp. A lot of these copywriters do BizOp because it's easiest. It's easy selling business opportunity because everyone's looking for something new. But it becomes a little difficult. Sugarman did a ton of offers in the health and just some other off niches, and you can really fine tune your skills. And this is a phenomenal read. Again, a lot of these are very easy to read, nonetheless. But like here, understanding the process, understanding what works. Proving the points, utilizing your copywriting skills. There's just a ton of good information in here, and I would highly suggest reading it. I don't know if it looks like this anymore. I think there's an updated version. Nonetheless, it's a fantastic read. Notable mention, my man, Jason Fladlin. All right, so another cool story. If you like Hormozi's webinars, this is the man behind it. They call him, what do they call him? The $100 million webinar man. So this guy here, Jason Fladlin, one to many. Right now I'm actually in a group, the Sales League. You can look them up. They're very legit. They've done millions of dollars in sales. They're a sales training program. I'm going through them right now to improve my one-on-one sales. But if you want to scale, one-on-one is, again, not that scalable. But one to many is. But your pitch has to be a little different because you're selling to many people via webinar or whatever that mechanism is. But this here, okay, so this is a phenomenal read if you are into webinars. I know webinars are starting to crush again. They're starting to come back into the zeitgeist. But webinars can crush. And if you format them properly using this guy's format, you can do very well. So just to show you the framework, right? So section 1, the framework, section 2, the content, section 3, transition, section 4, the close, section 5, putting it all together. And again, Hormozi says this guy's stuff is some of the best stuff. That's basically his tagline. So this guy is a G. I love how the way he talks. It gives me goosebumps every time. Him and Russell. I want to do public speaking one day. And so he helps all, like, the favorite people you look up to. If they're doing webinars, he has been involved. So Hormozi, Russell Brunson, Iman Gadzhi, everyone, if they're doing webinars, and they're big, they are contacting him to help with it. So very cool read. And in general, just persuasion or whatever the case may be, it helps, right? So that's kind of the material there. And again, the ones that I didn't write down are One to Many, Jason Fladlin, and the Adweek Copywriting Handbook by Joseph Sugarman. Very, very good. I just didn't write them down. When it comes to courses, Stefan Georgi, he just came out with RBC number 2. That's just a fixed price. And then the best course so far I think I've been in is Alan Soltanic's Nothing Held Back course. Now that is a recurring subscription, but it is very impactful. And the gurus that you look up to get information from Alan. Alan is a complete G. He's probably one of the top best copywriters in the world right now. And the good thing is he's not, quote unquote, a guru. He's kind of behind the scenes, which is awesome, because he has unique and different takes. And he kind of shows you how it all works, which is crazy. I've been in there for a little while now, actually, and he keeps just breaking my mind. So he does calls every week, and he's been doing this, I think, since like 2022. And they're like 4-hour calls. So I'll just sit here and binge watch the calls. Half of it's like mindset, which is very helpful. And, as I get older, I realize that a lot of this is I got to work on. So, he's helping me through that. And he'll help you with offers, funnels, copywriting. They have phenomenal coaches in there. One's for ads, one's for funnels, one's for CRO. So all that kind of stuff. And again, the holistic marketer, which kind of, I think, is the term you have to kind of run with now, being in an AI era where you have to know just a ton of skills. And so it's no better place to be in than being in that course. Again, it is a subscription, but I think it's worth every penny. So those are kind of the 2 courses and some of the people I look up to that have helped me kind of frame my perspective when it comes to marketing, advertising, X, Y, and Z. So I think that's day number 4. Again, I'm trying to go for about 14 days to 30 days, just post kind of thing. Let me know if you want to see anything. Grab those books if you want. And then there's actually some novel books. Travis McGee, that's actually, Travis McGee is Gary Halbert. Loved Travis McGee. And actually, I found that out through Alan Soltanic. So I bought some of his novels. They are novels. And so I started to read them. So novels can be impactful too. So that's kind of that. And we will catch up for video number 5 tomorrow. Take care.